1. Hook and problem. You call it peace. But real peace does not leave you emotionally empty at 2 a.m. It does not make you stare at the ceiling wondering why nothing truly moves you anymore. Some people think they are calm because they no longer react. No anger, no attachment, no vulnerability. But sometimes, that is not strength. It is exhaustion wearing the mask of control. Modern life teaches people to suppress everything elegantly. Smile professionally, stay productive, keep moving. And eventually, you become so good at avoiding pain that you stop feeling joy too. The Stoics never taught emotional numbness. Marcus Aurelius became strong by facing his emotions, not escaping them. There is a dangerous moment when avoidance starts feeling like inner peace. Because silence can look like wisdom. Detachment can look like maturity. But safety is not freedom.
No, I totally agree.
Maybe you are not calm. Maybe you are just tired of confronting what hurts.
Yeah, he really is.
And tonight, we need to talk about that. 2. Modern illusion. The modern world does not reward emotional honesty. It rewards performance. You are praised for staying composed under pressure. Admired for not caring too much. Respected when nothing seems to affect you. So slowly, emotional suppression becomes a personality. I'm fine. I'm focused. I don't let things bother me. But beneath those words is often someone disconnected from their own emotions. Many people are not calm. They are distracted. Notifications, endless scrolling, work, productivity. A life so noisy that silence becomes uncomfortable. Because silence reveals things. Unresolved grief, loneliness, fear never processed. And over time, numbness starts feeling normal. At first, avoidance feels protective. You react less, expect less, feel less. It feels like growth. But eventually, something disappears too. Warmth, connection, wonder. You begin surviving emotionally instead of living. That is why so many people feel disconnected even when life appears stable. Good job, functional routine, social interaction. Yet internally, something feels absent. The modern illusion is believing emotional control means emotional disconnection. But Stoicism never taught people to become cold. The Stoics understood emotion as part of human nature. What they warned against was becoming controlled by emotion, not feeling it. A person who suppresses emotion becomes rigid. A person who understands emotion becomes free. Yet modern culture keeps confusing numbness with maturity. Someone avoids vulnerability. People call them independent. Someone hides pain. People call them strong. But avoidance always leaves traces. In constant distraction. In overworking to escape yourself. In feeling empty after conversations that should have meant something. Avoidance feels safe because it works temporarily. But internally, the emotional weight remains. And eventually, it returns as burnout, anxiety, detachment, meaninglessness. The Stoics believed peace came from awareness. Modern culture teaches peace through distraction. And those are not the same thing at all. 3. Internal conflict. Most battles in life are invisible. People are rarely fighting the world. They are fighting themselves in silence. Someone can laugh with friends while feeling emotionally absent. Someone else can handle every responsibility perfectly, yet feel disconnected from their own life. This is the hidden conflict of emotional avoidance. Because avoidance does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks functional. You keep working. Keep talking. Keep surviving. But internally, something slowly splits apart. One part of you moves forward. The other stays trapped in unresolved emotion. Then exhaustion appears. Not physical exhaustion. Existential exhaustion. The kind where rest no longer helps. Where joy feels muted. Where life feels distant. Not because life lost meaning, but because emotional suppression disconnected you from fully feeling it. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus believed suffering often comes from our relationship with pain, and avoidance only strengthens that relationship. You stop confronting disappointment. Stop admitting loneliness. Stop grieving honestly. Instead, you become emotionally efficient. At first, it feels like strength. Until one day, you realize you no longer know who you are without distraction. That is the tragedy of emotional avoidance. People learn how to appear stable, but forget how to sit alone with their own thoughts. So they keep consuming, keep scrolling, keep staying busy. Because stillness reveals truth. Maybe the pain never healed. Maybe emotional control became a survival identity. Maybe the fear was always there beneath the surface. And the more pain is avoided, the more power it quietly gains. That is why some people feel anxious without knowing why. Emotionally numb during meaningful moments. Or suddenly overwhelmed after years of appearing strong. Sooner or later, the inner world asks to be heard. Not to destroy you, but to reconnect you with yourself. Because healing begins the moment you stop running from what hurts. 4. Stoic insight. Stoicism was never about becoming emotionless. That is one of the biggest misunderstandings of the philosophy. The Stoics did not teach people to suppress emotion. They taught people how to stop being controlled by it. Marcus Aurelius lived through war, betrayal, illness, and pressure. Yet he never taught people to feel nothing. Instead, he practiced observation. He noticed anger without obeying it, fear without surrendering to it, grief without letting it define him. True Stoic calm is not emotional suppression. It is emotional awareness without panic. There is a difference between someone who feels nothing and someone who feels deeply but remains grounded. The first becomes disconnected. The second becomes resilient. Stoicism begins with honesty. The courage to admit, yes, I am hurt. Yes, I am afraid. Yes, something inside me still needs healing. Many people avoid this because they see emotions as weakness. But the Stoics understood a timeless truth. What you refuse to face will eventually control you. Avoided anger becomes bitterness. Avoided sadness becomes numbness. Avoided fear becomes hidden anxiety. That is why Stoicism emphasized self-observation. Not judgment. Observation. To sit quietly with your own mind and notice what exists beneath the surface. Notice the tension in your body. Notice the thoughts you keep escaping from. Notice the emotions that appear when silence arrives. Because awareness creates space. And inside that space, freedom begins. A reactive person is controlled externally. But someone who observes emotion calmly regains inner authority. The goal was never to become cold. The goal was to become conscious. Modern avoidance says, do not feel. Stoicism says, feel fully, but do not drown. That difference changes everything. When emotions stop becoming enemies, they stop becoming monsters. Sadness becomes information. Fear becomes awareness. Anger becomes a signal towards something unresolved. Peace is no longer built through avoidance. It is built through understanding. The Stoics believed peace came from accepting reality. Not distraction. Not escape. Not pretending. Real Stoic strength feels calm but alive. Because the strongest person is rarely the one who feels nothing. It is the one who can face difficult emotions directly, without losing themselves in the process. 5. Reversal. The strange thing about avoidance is that it often feels like control. You tell yourself you are being rational, disciplined, detached. You avoid difficult conversations to protect your peace. You suppress emotion to avoid drama. And slowly, avoidance disguises itself as wisdom. But here is the reversal most people never see. Real peace makes you more alive. Avoidance makes you emotionally smaller. A person at peace can still love deeply, grieve honestly, care without losing themselves. But a person trapped in avoidance builds emotional walls around every vulnerable part of life. Not because they are strong, because they are afraid. Afraid to reopen old wounds. Afraid to feel disappointment again. Afraid that vulnerability will destroy the stability they created. So they choose emotional distance instead. And for a while, it works. Life feels quieter, safer, more predictable. But eventually, another feeling appears beneath the silence. Emptiness. Because the human mind cannot numb pain forever without also numbing joy. When you suppress grief, you weaken connection. When you avoid vulnerability, you limit intimacy. When you disconnect from pain, you slowly disconnect from life itself. That is the hidden cost. Avoidance does not only remove suffering, it removes aliveness. This is why some people feel emotionally flat even during beautiful moments. A sunset means nothing. Success feels temporary. Love becomes difficult to trust. Not because life became empty, because they became emotionally unavailable to life itself. And the terrifying part is how normal this can start to feel. People call it maturity, independence, not needing anyone. But often, it is unresolved pain becoming identity. The Stoics warned against unconscious living for this reason. Anything unconscious gains power over you. If fear remains unconscious, it controls decisions. If pain remains unconscious, it shapes relationships. That is why awareness changes everything. The moment you notice your avoidance, the illusion begins breaking apart. You realize you were never protecting your peace. You were protecting yourself from feeling. But real peace was never the absence of emotion. It was the ability to remain present without escaping yourself. That is the reversal. The strongest people are not emotionally numb. They are emotionally honest. They do not run every time pain appears. They stay, observe, breathe, listen. And slowly, pain stops becoming an enemy. It becomes a doorway back to authenticity. Back to self-awareness. Back to a life that feels real again. Because healing begins the moment avoidance is no longer mistaken for peace. 6. Practical application. Awareness changes nothing unless it becomes practice. Stoicism becomes real in quiet moments, when you finally stop escaping yourself. The first step is simple. Create silence. Not entertainment. Not stimulation. Silence. Because emotional avoidance survives through distraction. The moment life becomes quiet, the mind starts speaking. And most people immediately reach for something to interrupt it. Music. Scrolling. work, anything except stillness. But Stoic practice begins inside stillness. Even 5 quiet minutes can reveal how much emotional tension you carry unconsciously. Notice the thoughts that appear. Notice the emotions your mind avoids. Do not judge them. Observe them. That was one of the deepest Stoic disciplines. To witness your inner world without reacting immediately. Marcus Aurelius constantly journaled because awareness requires repetition. Writing forces honesty. So ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What emotion keeps returning? What truth have I been distracting myself from? Answer honestly. You may discover sadness beneath productivity, fear beneath perfectionism, loneliness beneath independence. And that realization is not weakness. It is reconnection. Another Stoic practice is staying present during discomfort instead of escaping it. When sadness appears, remain with it briefly. When anxiety rises, observe it without panic. When difficult conversations become necessary, stop postponing them. This is not about becoming emotionally overwhelmed. It is about rebuilding emotional tolerance. Because every time you run from discomfort, the mind learns. This feeling is dangerous. But when you remain present, the nervous system slowly realizes, I can survive this emotion. That is how resilience is built. Not by suppressing feeling, by learning to experience it consciously. The Stoics also practiced accepting impermanence, loss, and change. Not to become pessimistic, but to stop resisting reality. And strangely, that creates peace. Not the cold peace of numbness. A living peace. The kind where emotions still exist, but no longer control your identity. You begin responding instead of reacting. Listening instead of escaping. Feeling without drowning. And slowly, presence returns. Because emotional honesty restores connection to life. The Stoics understood something modern culture forgot. Inner peace is not built by avoiding pain. It is built by becoming strong enough to face truth gently. That is the practice. Awareness, presence, and the courage to remain open to life, even after pain. 7. Final impact. Maybe this is the truth you needed to hear tonight. You do not heal by becoming emotionally unreachable. You heal by becoming honest enough to stop running. The world teaches people to suppress themselves, to stay busy, to appear unaffected. But beneath all that noise, your inner life is still waiting for your attention. Not your perfection, your attention. Because real peace was never meant to feel empty. Real peace feels awake, connected, human. It allows sadness without shame,
Me neither.
love without fear, vulnerability without hiding.
So much.
The Stoics did not become powerful by escaping emotion. They became powerful because they could face reality directly. And reality includes pain. But it also includes beauty, meaning, connection, presence. The moment you stop numbing yourself from suffering, you slowly begin feeling life again. That is why awareness changes everything. Not because it removes pain overnight, but because it ends the war between you and your own emotions. So if you have been calling avoidance peace, be gentle with yourself. Most people never notice the difference. But now you do. And perhaps real calm begins here. Not in emotional silence, but in the courage to remain present with yourself. If this reflection resonated with you, leave a comment below. What emotion have you been avoiding the longest? And if you want more cinematic reflections on Stoicism, inner peace, and emotional mastery. Subscribe to Legacy of Thinkers. Because healing is not a single realization. It is a daily practice. If this reflection resonated with you, continue the practice tomorrow.